Page 86. Okay, good Erev Shabbos to all. Good Erev Shabbos Hagadol to all. Shabbos Hagadol Tafshin Pei Beis. So let's see our case. Page 86. We got three brothers married to three strangers. There's no sisters. Usually for the sisters, there's no sisters, right? We got Rus, Penina, and Chana married to Reuven, Shimon, and Levi. Reuven dies, and Shimon goes ahead and does ma'amer to Chana, and he's got a wife Penina. And then Shimon dies. So what's the halacha of Levi versus Penina and Chana? So says she has to Levi, since Shimon never was miyabim Chana, so coming in front of Levi now is two women, right? There's two women who has two zikas. Actually, one woman has two zikas. The woman Chana is the zika of Reuven and the zika of Shimon. Penina only has the zika of Shimon, but Chana has the zika of Reuven and Shimon, because after all, he only did maimer. Good. So now the halacha is, according to the Chachamim, right, that Chana goes ahead. You have to chalitz and you can't do yibum. Right, you can't do chalitz, you can't do yibum, because she has the zika of two yevamim, right? And so to Penina Hatzara, you have to give chalitza too. Rav Shimon, on the other hand, says you can be miyabem anyone you want because he has a memanav shach. If maima of the second one is maimer, in other words, if maima that Shimon did is maimer, then what? Then Chana is Shimon's wife, and if it's not maimer, then it's Reuven's wife. So therefore, he should be able to live with a memanav shach. It's either is in or not. Good. And therefore you do each one. Let's see the Mishnah now. See if it makes a little sense. Says the Mishnah. Gimel and you have three brothers. The Sun Nachriyos case again, beautiful, right? Reuven, Shimon, Levi married to three women. Reuven's wife dies. Sheni Maimer, and Sheni does not now Maimer to the wife of Reuven. Umeis, and consequently Shimon dies. So falling in front of Levi is the Chana, in our case Chana, who had received Maimer from Shimon and the Zika from Reuven. In that case, you're going to go ahead. Levi is going to give chalitza to Chana because, in fact, because you have two zikas there: the zika of Reuven, which wasn't removed by the Maimer, and the zika of Shimon, who died. And one of them dies. The Yevamot comes. I want to be darshan. Allah zikas yavam echad, v'loi shalah zikas beis Yevamim. One that had the zika of one, and not one that had the zika of two. Shimon says, on the other hand, you do yibum to any which one you want for cholish l'shliya, and then you would go ahead, you do yibum to one, and the question is, why can't you do yibum to both? Right? Why do you have to? According to Shimon, if Maima is she was Eisha Shimon, right? Why can't you do yibum to both? So the Gemara is going to deal with that. Let's see Rashi deals with it, guys. Okay, let's chaz riba. Let's go cover somebody. Let's chaz riba. You have three women married to three men. First wife dies. First husband dies. She falls to the second husband. The second husband does maimer. The second brother does maimer, right? And now he dies. So falling to the third brother is two women, the wife of the second one and the wife of the first one who had done maimer too. So we say that you can't do. The Chacham says, since you can't do yibum to the first one because you have the zika of two brothers of Reuven and Shimon, you can't go ahead and sorrow, you get chalitza. Shimon says you can do yibum to whichever one you want to, and the other one gets chalitza. So we're explaining why does the other one gets chalitza. Says Rashi, the chalitz the shniya, the chada loy mifter of a bia. Why? The idach. One doesn't come pata with the bia of the other. Just because he did yibum to, let's say, Chana, doesn't pata the second one. Dilma, Maim is not kaina. They're two from two separate houses. In other words, isn't this kasha the following, guys? Why, when Chana, in our case, Chana and Penina fall, why do you have to do anything to? Why doesn't Penina require chalitza? Why don't you just go ahead? You do yibum to Chana, and that should pater, because after all, it's considered one house, right? And where it says no, it's not considered one house. Because if Maim is not Kaina, then what? Then it's two separate houses. Dilma Maim like Kaina, Vavle Beis Yevamis Habois and Beis Batim. Okay, so guys, so what therefore, so why don't you do Yibim to both? Why don't you do Yibim to Chana and Penina? The Yivumi Travayu Namiloi, Dilma Maim Kaina, because maybe Maim is Kaina. Vavle Beis Yevamis Habois and Beis Echad. So again, to avoid all issues, this is my default chalitza, guys. This is my default chalitza. Okay, so that's the machlokes. We're only going to deal with the sheet of the chachamim. We're not going to deal with the sheet that the Gemara deals only with the sheet of chachamim, which is since you have an chana, the zika of Ruvain, which wasn't removed because Shimon didn't do any, wasn't miyabim her or give a chalitza, and you have the yibum of what of the zika to Shimon. So this woman has two zikas, one from Ruvain and one from Shimon, and two zikas. What you have to chalitza, and now it's mashmitz a pasuk. It says umeisech mehem yivam yavaleha shalah zikas yavam echad v'lei shalah zikas beis yavamim. So now remember our rule of thumb, guys. Our rule of thumb is if it's the raisa dikadin, then the tzara goes free, right? Says the Gemara. The zikas beis yavamim the raisa. If the zikas of two yavamim is the raisa, so in our scenario, Chana had the zika of Ruvain and Shimon, chanitza lamin loy tiboy. You shouldn't need chalitza. Again, for the tzara, you should not need chalitza. I guess for the tzara. Why do I learn it's going in the tzara? I don't know why I learned it's going in the tzara. Maybe it's going on her also. Right? Maybe she's free. Maybe it's. I learned. I don't know. When I prepared it, I didn't think this out. I thought it was going on the tzara. No, it's going on her. Maybe she's not sukuka at all. Maybe she's not sukuka at all. Because again, if it's the right, it's who is in the ballpark of Yibam? Someone who has one zika, but someone has two zikas is not in the ballpark of Yibam at all. If it's the right zika, then so why are you doing chalitza at all? Forget the tzara. It's speaking about chana. Why are you doing it at all? Says element rabbanon. And notice obviously when you're doing chalitza, it must be the rabbanon, right? Now, so what's the problem? The gezerah shema yomru beis yevamis habois mibayasecha misyavmois, right? It's rabbanon and it's a gezerah. The reason why when it says that from two zikas, people are going to think that two yevamis, they're not going to realize that this is from two separate houses. They're going to say it's what from one house. Because they're two Yevamis that come from one house, right? Base Yevamis that come from one house. You have Chana and Penina. They're coming from Shimon's house. They're going to say that you can go ahead and misyabmois, which we know is not true. It says so. Why don't you go ahead, give yibim to the one and do chalitza to the other? Why did it says both chalitza? Why do chalitza and Chana and Penina? Go ahead. Do chalitza to go ahead and be miyabim chana, and then chalitza, and then people realize when you do two things, it's from two separate houses. It says in other words, they can think it's one house, and they're going to think that you have to do both. In other words, when two women fall from one house, we know the halacha is you do yibim to one and the pat is the other. So here they're going to say, no, they're not going to realize it came from two separate houses. I did Yibam from Ruvain and Chalitza for Shimon. They're going to think it comes from Shimon's house. So what do you have to do to free? Yeah, in that situation, you have to go Yibam one, Chalitza to the other, which is not true because you do one, the other one's Pata. It says, you're right. If you're miyabim the first one and Chalitza to the second one, you'll be correct. Ella Gezero worried, they'll Chalitz Beresha about the miyabim. But Kamle, Asher lo yibna. If you go ahead and give chalitza to the one first, and then do yibum, you have a problem because the halacha is that once you go ahead and you weren't boina, you gave chalitza shuvla yibna. So by giving chalitza, why did you say I'm out of the picture? But people are going to say what? 1 second, I gave chalitza to the one, I can do yibum to the other. So you see that you're still in the picture. If you did yibum to first and then it's the you boina, so therefore you go ahead and give chalitza to the second, there's no problem, right? At worst, however, what are you worried about? If you do chalitza to the first, doing chalitza to the first passes you completely, does not let you do yibum to the second one, and that's what I'm concerned about. Okay, now what was the case? The case was that Ruvain died, Chana falls to Shimon, Shimon gave Maimer. Good. What happens? And before Shimon dies, let's say Shimon will give her a get for the
Can't
minor.
hear you.
Okay,
Where are you going?
nowhere. Where are you going?
Okay. Anyway, if let's say you went ahead and you gave a get to the mimer, does that restore Shimon's ability to go ahead and be miyabein the chana? You know, you gave mimer and then you got it out. Now there's two people over here. There's Chana and Penina. There's the Tzara and then there's Chana. So what's the halacha over there? Says the Gemara. Now, guys, further hakdama. The mimer can be accomplished, can be given for one of two reasons. One, to go ahead and just uproot the get. The get could I'm sorry, I said the wrong words. Yeah. The get can be given for one of two reasons. Either to get rid of the mimer, but not to affect the zika, or to go ahead and even though zika could only be removed for the following with yibum and or chalitza, what mimer can do if acted upon the zika would ask it to the other brothers that they can't do chalitza or yibum. That's what mimer can do. In other words, if I give mimer, not me, if Shimon would give mimer to Reuven's widow, that if it's given for the zika, so good vis-a-vis freeing her to the street, it's not going to help because you needed chalitza or yibum. But vis-a-vis the other brothers, they would not be able to go ahead and what? It would ask on the other brothers. So that's the scenario over here is he's giving mimer he's giving get for the mimer. Right? Says the Gemara. Amar Rava, nasan get l'mamaroi. He's giving a get for the mimer to get rid of the mimer, the kedushin, but not the zika. In other words, he doesn't want to go ahead and try to get rid of the zika. He's giving it mefurish for the mimer. Chutra tzarasa, the tzara, which the Rabbanan said you have to give chalitza to, you don't have to give chalitza. In fact, it matters her. It's not like a tzaras erva, it matters her completely. Abal hi asura, but she will be asa, the michlafa bebalas get. Because what are we worried about? We're worried about if you went ahead and gave a mimer for zika. You gave a mimer, you gave a get, excuse me, I keep saying mimer. You gave a get, not for the mimer, you gave a get for the zika, right? In that case, vadai, he's out. He can never go ahead and be miyabim. If guys, watch, if Shimon gives a get for the mimer, this is far to say he's still back in. But if he gave a get for the zika, he's out. So therefore, in the case, even when he gave a get only for the mimer, he's out. Gezerah, you may go ahead and allow him to remarry after he gave a get for the zika. It's a gezerah. One more time. Shimon's giving mimer. There's two women, Chana and Penina. Shimon's get for the mimer will permit Penina to marry Levi. Good. He'll permit them to get married. Conversely, if the get if the get was given for the zika, then it's asa. Then she has to get chalitza. So now, says the Chacham, says Rava in the first lashon that vis-a-vis Shimon, right? This woman is out. She's gone. You know, he'll never be able to marry her, and because once he went ahead and gave the mimer for the get, right, which should allow him to remarry, right? But no, we're going to be goyso atamama giving get for the zika. Okay, so now that's the first lashon. Amarava, one more time. Nasan get mamarai. If he goes ahead, Shimon, and he's giving a get for his mimer. He's giving a get for his mimer. So chutrat sarasa, his what? The Penina, Shimon's first wife, will be able to marry Levi because now she's not a tsar anymore. Because the mimer that he made, right, that would, you know, that she would go ahead and free her. Because if he marries her, then what? Then she's out. then the tsar is out. She doesn't fall anymore. So you dealt with the house of what of Shimon. If he's Chana and Penina, and he goes ahead and marries Chana, then Penina is out. She's sorry, she's free. Okay, but the first one, the Levi, when Shimon dies, would be Asa to go ahead and be Miyabim, because he may come to go ahead, Levi, and go ahead and be Miyabim her, and that's not, because then you won't be able to Miyabim, because the Z Shekibul get after this, because we'll work again. If you're Makabel get for the Zika, one more time, guys. If Shimon does Maimer and he dies, then Levi is going to have to give a chalitza. Good. If Shimon gives a get for the Maimer, then Levi will be able to marry the Tzara, but not the Balas Maimer. Why not? Because in a case where Shimon gave a get for the Zika and then died, Chana, the one who received it, will be Asr to Levi. And therefore, he's Asr even when what? To Levi, even when the get was given for the Maimer and not the Zika. Oh, there's a second case. A second. Ikadi Amri, Amarava, Nasan get Lamamaroi. If in fact Levi of Shimon gave a get, Kutra Afiluhi, she would be mutawat to Levi. Why? My timer, my da'avid ba shakle. Whatever he did, he took away. Pirish. Let's say Shimon never did Maimer. And then Shimon died. So of course Levi could go ahead and be Miyabim Chana. Again, Chana is the wife of Ruvain. Chana and Shimon never did anything to this wife. So when Chana falls in front of Levi, it's only from the Zika of Ruvain, not from the Zika of Shimon. Shimon never did anything. One more time. 3 brothers. Ruvain dies, his widow Chana falls to Shimon. Shimon does nothing. Shimon now has 2 wives. Now 2 women falling in front of what? Levi, right? 2 women falling in front of Levi. So he could do whatever. He could do Yibum to either one or both. He could do Yibum to Ruvain's wife and Yibum to Shimon's wife. Chana al Ruvain and Penina al Shimon. Good. That's a normal case. Comes along Shimon and goes ahead and gives Maimer. That messes up what? Penina. That messes up Penina. And not only it messes up Penina, it messes up Chana as well. It messes up Chana. It messes up Penina as well, according to the Chachamim, that you have to give Chalitza both the Gezerah. Good? That was by Mishnah. Now, what happens if he uproots the Maimer? So we have 2 Lishonis what in Rava. In the first Lashon, no matter what he does with the Maimer, by giving a get, it's going to ask, she will always remain Asa. She, meaning a Chana, will always remain Asa. Why? Because even though you get the get just to get rid of the Maimer, we're going to at the get at the Zika, if they gave the get to the Zika, which would pass to Levi. Second Lashon, whatever he did, he's taken back. He gave a get, he gave a Maimer, he gave her a get. So now falling in front of what? Of Levi, 2 women who what? Muta. One, this Chana has Ruvain Zika, and that's it. By Shimon, there's nothing. Shimon never gave the Maimer to break a Zika. Shimon gave the Maimer, the get to break the Zika, gave the get to break the Maimer. Therefore, it's back to square one. 2 women falling in front of him, and therefore should be permitted what to Chana, who's the wife of Ruvain, and nothing from Shimon would be permitted, and who had in the Tzara, of course, would be permitted. Okay. Shnei achim nesu and shnei achayos. Okay, let's look at page 194. Let's look at page 194. Two brothers married to 2 sisters. Reuben and Shimon married to Machla and Noah. Always Reuben's Machla is the first, Noah is the second. Reuben dies. Of course, Shimon cannot go ahead and marry Machla. She is what? Achas Ishtay. She's an Erev Deraisa. She's Achas Ishtay. Now, let's say Noah dies. Let's say that his wife dies. So she, Machla, is Asa. Why? since when she fell, she couldn't marry. Remember, that's our rule of thumb. Since b'shas nafila, you can't be Mekayim Yevamot Aleha, she'll remain the Isra of Eishes Ach. Even though it's not Achas Ishto anymore because the wife died, you still have the Isra of Eishes Ach. Good? Guys, good? We had this picture. Now, I want to go ahead and look at another picture. I want to look at picture one on 193. One page back. You have three brothers, two sisters. Reuven, Shimon, Levi. Again, Reuven's married to Machla, Shimon's married to Noah, and Levi is married to Rus. Okay? So Reuven dies. The only person who can marry Machla is Levi, because it's Achas Ishtay Tovat to Shimon. Right? Levi can marry Machla, and Shimon can't because it's Achas Ishtay. Good? Now, what happens if Noah dies? If Noah dies, good. And then Levi dies. So falling in front of Shimon is what? Is Machla and Rus. Machla and Rus are falling in front of Shimon. Good. So now, Machla was Asa on picture 163.3. When Reuven died, at that point in time, Machla was Asa, right? He couldn't be Mekayim. Shimon could not be Mekayim at that period in time. At that period in time, he was married to Noah. So she fell. So this is the exact same case, meaning you're falling, right? And since at the time of your nefila, meaning at the time of your brother died, you can't be Mekayim the mitzvah of Yevamot Aleha, she remains the She'esh Ach. Now this is a bigger chiddush, because over here I could say the following. I could say, since she's in the ballpark vis-a-vis Levi, because there's another brother, so, and that other brother did marry her, that she's mutter. But I don't say that. Since at the time where Machla fell in front of Shimon and Levi, she's Asa, right? Right? And nonetheless, Asa, certainly the next page, guys, where there is no Levi, she's Asa. In other words, if I have page 193, I don't have page 194. Madach, there's a svara to say, when Machla falls in front of Shimon Levi, since she's viable to Levi, even though she's not viable to Shimon because of his marriage to Noah, nonetheless, we say it's Asar, certainly where there's only two games in town, and one is dead, and she's fully one of, you don't say it. So why is it necessary to say the second Mishnah rather than the first Mishnah? That's our Gemara. Let's see it inside. Two brothers, Reuven and Shimon. As soon as they are married to Machla and Noah, and Shimon dies. Reuven dies. And then Shimon's wife dies. Noah is Asa. Machla is Asa. Lamis. Hayil v'nes love sha'achas. Says in the Pshita, it's Pashit. What are you telling me? Hashta Uma Hossam, where there was another brother Levi. She's not falling out of the ballpark completely because there's another brother who can do Yibum. Nonetheless, Amit Loi, you say that no, she vis-a-vis Shimon is Asa. Hacha, over here where there's no other brother. When Reuven dies before the death of Noah, they come matcha mehai beis gamri like kol shekain. So what's this Mishnah? You told me the previous Mishnah, then why do you have to tell me this Mishnah? Guys, good? Guys, are here? The possibility is that she's still, especially Levi goes ahead and marries her. So why don't we say she's still viable? It's still, and we don't say it. So kol shekain when she falls and not viable, we don't say it. So the second Mishnah would seem totally extraneous. What's the answer? The same answer we gave the other day. You know what Mishnah they learned first, guys? They learned the second Mishnah first. And there was a svara to say in the first Mishnah, since she was viable to Levi, she's viable to Shimon too. So they thought it's mutta. Then they said, no, vis-a-vis her, she's Ashes. We don't look at Levi, we look at the woman. The woman is to Shimon, she's Achas Ishtai. So therefore, we thought in the first in 193, we thought mutta, and then we realized it's heta. So which one did you learn first, guys? The one that was the bigger chiddush. And the other one, like what did we say the other day? The Mishnah Leizazim Koimai, because that was their memory. That's the way they memorized it. We had the same type of limud, right? Geshmak, as we had the other day. Says the Gemara here. And for the Gemara, Tana, the Kolshkein, Tana ha-Tana Beresha. The Tana learned this second Mishnah first. V'hach, and the first Mishnah, where you're falling in front of two brothers, Shimon and Levi, Chazila Teira. You know why? Because since she's mutter to Levi, I would say she's mutter to Shimon after the death of Shimon's wife. B'sharya, and therefore we learn it. However, the Chazila Surah. Then we said, no, forget about Levi being there. What's the look? Let's look at Machla. Machla is the Shimon at the time of Nefila. She is what? She's a Achas Ishtai. And since you can't be Mekayim the mitzvah of Yevamot Yavah because of the erva of Achas Ishtai, that remains forever. So therefore, I changed my mind. But that was the Chiddush. The Ayu the Chavivale, and now that was Machaviv because I went from Heta to Issa. Then Akdama, I put it first before this Mishnah. So why don't you go ahead and delete a Mishnah that's extraneous? And the Mishnah does not leave its spot. You leave the Mishnah, meaning we're leaving our Mishnah, which is no Chiddush whatsoever, we're leaving in its place. Geschmack. Okay. Tanarabanan, Ba'ala. Let's say Shimon does live with Machla. How many Yisurim is she over? There's two possibilities. Either she's over on Eshes Ach, my brother's wife, or she's over on Achas Ishtoi, she's over on my wife's sister, or she's over on both. Now we're going to get into the sugya of Issa Chalal Issa. We're getting the sugya, can you have two Isurim or one Issa? So again, he's living with Machla. Machla is the sister of Noah. She's also the wife of Ruvain. So she has an Isser of Eshes Ach, and she has an Isser of Achas Ishtoi. So Ba'aleha, again, Machla was never seen to Shimon because Shimon was married to Noah, was the wife. In other words, there is no mitzvah of Yibam here, guys. There's no mitzvah of Yibam. But there's still an Isser of what? Of Ruvain's wife, my brother's wife. There's an additional Isser of what? My wife's sister, Machla and Noah's sisters. So now, Tanabanim. Yechayev for what? My brother's wife, and Yechayev for Achas Isha, Yechayev for what? My wife's sister. Divrei Rabbi Yossi, that's what Rabbi Yossi. So Rabbi Yossi, obviously, guys, does not hold of Ein Issa Chal Issa, he holds Issa Chal Issa. He's holding, guys, that the Issa is Chal, the Issa of Eish, whichever one came first, we're going to see. Rabbi Shimon Naima, Ein Chayev Ela Mishum Eshes Ach. You only Mechayev for what? For Ruvain's wife. Bilvad. Only Mechayev for Ruvain's wife Bilvad. But Tanya Rabbi Shimon Naima Ein Chayev Ela Mishum Achas Isha. You only Chayev for the wife's sister. That's why? Because he holds Ein Issa Chal Issa. Loi Kasha. It's not shver. Let's take a look at page 34. Let's look at page 34. Make it very easy. Two brothers married to two sisters. Okay, one's going to die and one's going to live, right? One's going to die and one's going to live. So now, if who gets married first? The one who dies gets married first. So that woman is usher on the live guy as what? As Eshesach. He didn't marry the other woman yet. The only usher is, this is my brother's wife. He then goes ahead and marries the sister. So the Isser, which Isser came first? The Isser of Eshes Ach came before the Isser of Achas Isha, guys, right? So if you hold Ein Isser Chalal Issa, therefore the Isser would be my brother's wife. What about the other way? Page 135. First, he marries the what? He marries Noah. Therefore, Machla is also what? As Achas Ishtoi. Then Ruvain, the brother eventually will die, marries what? Now becomes an Isser of Eshes Ach. So which came first? Guys, it's important for the Gemara to know which came first, okay? So watch. In Rav Shimon, it's not shver whatsoever. He holds Ein Isser Chalal Issa. One place he holds Eshes Ach, one place he holds Achas Ishtoi. It depends. If he married his wife first, then the Isser is what? Achas Ishtoi. When Ruvain marries the sister. And if Ruvain married Machla first, and then he married the sister, then Eshes Ach came first, okay? So now, Issa Chai means what? The live one, that's Achas Ishtoi, and Issa Meis is Eishes Ach, guys. That's the rule of thumb. Says the Gemara Vaita. But Tayim Shimon Oime Ein Chai Vel Mishum Achas Ishtoi Bavad, like Kasha. Kan Shenasa Chai V'Yakach Nasa Meis. When the live one, Shimon married what? Noah first. The Isser of Machlo was Achas Ishtoi. V'Yakach Nasa Meis, and then it became the Isser of Eishes Ach. But the Isser of Achas Ishtoi preceded the Isser of Eishes Ach. Therefore, you're going to be Chai for Achas Ishtoi. Kan Shenasa Meis V'Yakach Nasa Chai. But if Reuven married Machla first, it's also on Shimon as Eishes Ach, my brother's wife, and then Shimon goes ahead and marries Noah, then it adds on the Isurat of Achas Ishtoi, my wife's sister. That doesn't add on. And Issachal, that's the din of what? Of Reb Shimon. Good. Says the Gemara. Reb Shimon, Heichad Nasachai V'Achad Nasachai, Kivin Issa Achas Isha Loichal Tisyabeim. So listen to this, guys. A big conscience. Loi Reb Shimon, where the Isser of Eishes Ach came first, and the Isser of Achas Ishta came second, and you hold Ein Issachal Alissa. So if there's no Isser Achas Ishtoi, why can't Shimon be Miyabei Machla? Why can't Shimon be Miyabei Machla? Why not? There was never Isser of Achas Ishtoi, right? Never was. Says the Gemara, Kivin the Isser Achas Ishtoi Lechal Tisyabim Yivumei, Rav Ashi, Issa Achas Ishtoi Mitla Tolei, V'koi, Ipaka Isser Eishes Ach, Asi Issa Achas Ishtoi V'chal, V'hilkach Leipaka, V'hilkach Leipaka. Okay, so Pshat. When we hold Ein Issachal Alissa, you thought that what? It's like Hutra. You're like Hutra, right? Like Hutra. In other words, the only Isser in town is Eishes Ach. So when the brother dies, what does it say? The Makam Eishes Ach, Yevamot Yavei Allah, let it do Yibam. Says the Gemara, 1 second. That's not the way it works. It doesn't say that there's an Issa of Achas Isha. It's not Chal vis-a-vis that what if you did an Aveira b'mezid or b'shogeg that you have 2 chiyuv, you only have 1 chiyuv. But vis-a-vis the din of Yevama, once the Issa Eishes Ach is out of the way, there it is, the Issa of Achas Ishtoi, and it's there, and it's Chal, and therefore you can't do Yibam. So it's not pshat, it's out of the way completely. It's there, and it's not Chal vis-a-vis. Let's say you boil b'shogeg, you'd only have to bring 1 chatas instead of 2. But vis-a-vis halacha, once she's out of the way, the other one, then it comes into place. Good. Now, what did Rabbi Yossi say, guys? Rabbi Yossi said you chayiv 2. So obviously Rabbi Yossi must hold what? Issa chal alissa. Rabbi Yossi must hold what? Issa chal alissa. Good. Good. Now, says the Gemara. Rabbi Yossi saw Rabbi Yossi Issa chal alissa. Does Rabbi Yossi hold Issa chal alissa because he's chayiv me for what? For Eishes Ach, and he's chayiv me for Achas Ishtoi. For Tanya, Ava Aveira sheyesh ba shtei misais. If you're over an Aveira that has 2 misais, need the mechamura. You're going to get the muchama. So let's say, guys, the case of Chamaisai and Eishes Ish. A man's with his mother-in-law. A man is with what? With an Eishes Ish. Eishes Ish is a mitzvah, is the mitzvah of chenek, strangulation. Isra of mother-in-law is an Isra of sreifa. So if he's over on being with his mother-in-law who's an Eishes Ish, then he's going to get sreifa and not get chenek. That obviously this mandama holds what? Isra chal alissa, because I have 2 chiv misas in front of me, and I'm getting the Muhammadic one. Rabbi Yossi, I mean, no. Nidan bezika harishayna haboy love. He's going to get to the first one that comes to him first. Page 199. Page 199. There's 2 possibilities with your mother-in-law. Which came first? That she was an Eishes Ish or she was your mother-in-law? So it's very easy, but you can see in the pictures, but it's very, very easy. If she was an Almana and you married the daughter, so she's not an Eishes Ish, she's only your mother-in-law. She's only your mother-in-law. And then she got married. Good. Versus if when she got married, she was already an Eishes Ish. So first the Isra of Eishes Ish came first and then the mother-in-law. Good. That's the order. Okay, so now. Whichever came first, Abai love. The Tanya Ketzad, Ketzad and Rabbi Yossi, Need them bezikri shayna. What exactly mean? Haboilov. Chamoisay v'nasas eishes ish. So guys, watch. You married an almona's daughter. That almona is your mother-in-law. Then the almona remarries for a second time. Now she became an isur eishes ish. So what? When you loyaleno, if a person is mizana with his mother-in-law, since mother-in-law came first, he'd get streifa. Neither mechamoisay. Eishes ish. Let's say your mother-in-law, when you married the daughter, your mother-in-law was married what? To her husband. She wasn't an almana. So you already usher on this woman, I'll say shesish. And then only you added on this mother-in-law, then need them be'eshesish, you'll be judged with eshesish on mid-base. So guys, I got a problem. When it came to eshes ach and achas ishtoi, says Rabbi Yossi, I'm chayiv for both, because issa chal al issa. But over here, where it's mother-in-law and eshes ish, you're saying only chayiv one. You're not chayiv for both. So how can you tell me that he holds issa chal al issa when he doesn't? Okay, there's two waivers, and if you hold ein issa chal al issa, one is called an issa moisif, one is called an issa kailo. Issa moisif I'll give you today. Issa kailo I'm going to really wait for tomorrow. I could tell you one or two reasons. One, the ikka sugi is tomorrow. Two, I don't understand it completely to feel that I'm giving it over well. Or it's all of the above. It's all of the above. Okay. Watch. A person goes ahead and he gets married. He marries, the guy who dies marries Machla. Machla now is Asar as Eishes Ach, right? This is Eishes Ach to Shimon and all the other brothers. Now, Shimon goes ahead and marries the sister. So that sister now becomes Asar to him as Achas Ishtoi. There's no Issa Moisiv over there. You're not eating on any Issa. In other words, the only person who's Asar as Achas Ishtoi is Shimon. All the other brothers don't have that Issa. You didn't do anything. You weren't Moisiv any Issa. All you had was the existing Issa. It's a little more Asar to Shimon now for two reasons. Eishes Ach and Achas Ishtoi. What about the other way around? What happens if Shimon got married first? And Shimon's going to be the live one. So Shimon marries Machla. Now Shimon marries Noah. Now Machla is Asa to who? To who? To Shimon. Machla is mutter to Ruvain. Machla is mutter to Levi. Machla is mutter to everybody. Good. Now goes ahead Ruvain and marries Machla. What happens now? Machla becomes Asa to Levi Yehuda and Shimon. You were moisif to other people. Since you were moisif and issa to other people, it adds on to your existing issa. So I'm ready. Shimon's already Asa to Machla because of Noah, but that was only issa achas ishtoi. And even though you hold ein issa chal issa, moida by issa moisif. Since I'm being moisif, it's actually other brothers. It's moisif to me too. It adds on to me also. So that's the Gemara. So you want to know what's the difference by our case where you chayiv twice, where Yossi holds ein issa chal issa, really holds issa chal issa, but he's moida by issa moisif. So since you went ahead, guys, and you were moisif this eishes ach, it adds on to Shimon also this eishes ach. Now this would only work if the live guy got married first. If Shimon got married first, because if Reuben got married first, the eishes ach was there already. Let's see them guys got it. Geschmack, you got it. Yes.
Question: could you ever undo that if he divorces her, even though he married her beiser and then he divorces Machla? Does that undo the Easter or no? It stays there for everybody.
What are you talking about?
The case
Which you're talking about?
Where he marries Machla. Shimon marries Machla.
No, Shimon can't be married Machla. It's Achas Ishtoi. Shimon's married to Noah.
So what's the Issa that he added? What exactly?
Eishesach. It's my brother Reuven's wife. It's my brother's wife.
All right. Okay.
Okay. So Amar Bavo says Bavo, Moider Rabbi Yossi is Moider, Be'isam Moisif. Again, the Haisafa is you're adding on to the other brothers. Since you're adding on to the other brothers, what?
No other brothers, then. And there's no Moisef.
That is a Moisef, right? And that's the case with Chamoisai. So Amrabah, Moed Rabbi Yossi be'Ism Moisef, since you're being Moisef onto other people, the other brothers, you're going to add on to what? To Shimon's existing Isser, Achas Ishtoi, you're going to add on Eshesach. Teinach Echad Nasa Chai V'Achach Nasa Meis. That's good if the Isser of Achas Ishtoi came before the Isser of Eshesach. But Migodi Toisif Isser Gabe Achim, since you're being Moisef the Isser of Eshesach to Levi and Yehuda, Toisif Isser Gabe Didei, you're being Moisef this Eshesach to Shimon. But if Reuven married first, guys, and therefore what? All of them were Asra Eshesach. And only afterwards did Shimon marry Noah to increase that Issa. My Issa Moisef Ika. There's no Issa Moisef over there. There's no, and if you hold Ein Issa Chal Issa, should be Chal there either. So how can you say Chai for twice? Since when Shimon goes ahead and marries what? All the other sisters, he marries. So now what? Achas Ishtoi. Shimon is now, what is he doing? Shimon is also to Machlas Eshesach. Now he's going ahead and adding on by becoming Asa. When he marries Machla, marries Noah, he's adding on Achas Ishtoi. So he's saying that what? He didn't, that's Ein Issa Chal Alissa. 1 second, I'll give you an Issa Moisef. What's the Issa Moisef? He's now answering all the other sisters as Achas Ishtoi. They were all mutter to him. Now all these other sisters, let's say Noah had sister Rus, Chana, Penina, they're all becoming Asa to what? To Shimon. But where's the Issa Moisef vis-a-vis Machla? There's no Issa Moisef. That's called Issa Koilel. That you don't say Issa Chal Issa. That's the Issa Koilel that we'll get into more the other night. That's Issa Koilel. So again, I'm telling it to you and you can understand it, but I'm not so sure. Because I don't feel it in my bones to spend a lot of time on it, but I will, Be'ez Hashem. So but right now, in other words, when the Issa vis-a-vis Shimon, you're not adding anything on to Reuven or all the other brothers. You're adding on to yourself and the other ones that the adding on Achas Ishtoi is not adding on the other brothers. Memelawat, there's nothing there. So therefore, we got a problem. If Rabbi Yossi holds Ein Issa Chalal Issa, good, and you want to know why you're chayiv, and you know how do you know he holds Ein Issa Chalal Issa? Because why? Because he holds by Chamoisai, whichever one came first, that's the one. So he holds Ein Issa Chalal Issa. Then how could he hold Yechayiv twice? By what? By Eishes Ach and Achas Ishtoi. That would only work out in one Metzias of Issa Moisef, where first came the Issa of Achas Ishtoi, and then came the Haisafa of Eishes Ach to the other brothers. But if, on the other hand, the Issa of Eishes Ach came first because Reuven married Machla, and only then did he marry Noah, and therefore the Issa of Achas Ishtoi came after the Issa of Eishes Ach. In that scenario, you hold Ein Issa Chal Issa, it's not going to be Chal. So how can you be Chayiv twice? So the answer is we're going to so he holds. In fact, he holds that Ein Issa Chal Issa. Why you Chayiv twice? Means if you did the Avera, I'd be Mechayiv you twice, punished twice. And what's the Nafkamina, as we'll see. Says the Gemara, Ella Amar Rava, Ein Issa Chal Issa. So what does it mean you Chayiv twice? Malani Alav, I'll view it Ki'ilu Asashtayim. I'll view it as if he did two. I won't view it as if, in other words, again, we won't view it as Hutra. I'll only Mechayiv you once, but there's another Issa there. Again, it's Geshmak, that Hutra Hutra works. In other words, Ein Issa Chal Issa doesn't mean this, it's hovering there. Can I punish you twice? No, I can only punish you once. But guess what? That Issa is still there. No, if I can't punish you, so if I can't punish you, my nafkamina, you only chayiv once. I consider it on what? If a man was with someone who was Eishes Ach and Achas Ishtoi, Ki'ilu Asa Beis, if he did twice. However, Ein Chayiv El Achas, because Ein Issa Chal Issa. My nafkamina, if Ein Issa, bottom line is you only punish him once. It says Gemara Lekavroi Bein Mishoyim Gemurim, to bury him between the Mishoyim Gemurim. Because Gemara Sanhedrin says there's 4 Mises Bezdin, and we're going to lump them together. The 2 most severe are Skila and Sreifa, and the latter 2 are what? Are Herig and Chenek. These guys are buried in one cemetery, these guys are buried in another cemetery. We don't bury them together. These are Rishoyim, but they're different Sugim Rishoyim. So, and therefore, I'm going to go ahead and bury this guy in a separate cemetery. He's going to be buried with the Rishoyim. He's not going to be buried with the normal people. That's what the two helps. Okay, that's what the 2 helps. Okay? Now, you just told me that you only chayev once. In this scenario of Ein Issa Chal Issa, only chayev once. We're now going to give a whole Gemara with different cases. Now, we know that the avodah is doicha Shabbos. We know the avodah in the Beis Hamikdash is doicha Shabbos. We know a zor cannot do the avodah. What happens if the zor does the avodah in Shabbos? Is he chayiv once or is he chayiv twice? Says the Gemara. Ubeplukta, and this sugya of Issachar Issa over here that we just had is depends on the following machloikis. The itmar, zer, like ubeplukta. We want to go ahead. I said zer. I mean zor. So ubeplukta. This if Issa is Chalal Issa, we have machloikis in Reb Chia and Bar Kapara. So this is machloikis between Reb Chia and Bar Kapara. Deidmar Zar a non-kayin sheshimes b'Shabbos who does the avodah b'Shabbos. Reb Chia Omer chayiv shtayim. You be chayiv twice, one for chil Shabbos and one for doing the avodah as a non-kayin, because he obviously holds Isser Chalal Isser. Bar Kapara Omer ein chayiv ela achas. Bar Kapara says you be chayiv only once because ein Isser Chalal Isser. Kafetz Reb Chia v'nishba. Now we're going to explain which one. Ha'avoida, and again, a lashon of shvua. Kach shemati mi Rebbe, I heard from Yehuda Nasi. Shtayim, kafetz bar kapara v'nishpa. I guess bar kapara and Reb Chia were both talmidim of Rebbe, and they both heard conflicting views. V'nishpa ha'avoida kach shemati mi Rebbe achas. I only heard once. So loit Reb Chia in Rebbe is sechal alissa. Loit bar kapara in Rebbe in is sechal alissa. Now, Hiskal Reb Chia, who said Issa Chalal Isser, Lodain, Shabbos l'chol nesra. Shabbos is asa to all. Kisha hutra b'migdash, eitzel kahanim hutra. L'kahanim hutra, v'loy l'zarim. Yesh kam mishum zarais, v'yesh kam mishum Shabbos. When the heta for Shabbos came for the avodah, did it come and matter the complete avodah, or was it unique to kahanim? It says it's for kahanim. So the zor remains vis-a-vis that. It means Shabbos is a problem. Hiskal bakapara lodin Shabbos l'chol nesra. Shabbos was what is also to everybody. Kisha hutra b'migdash hutra. He mattered it in the Beis Hamikdash. In other words, there is no such thing as what as Shabbos in the Beis Hamikdash, and therefore, in Kan, all you have is zorus. You only have the fact that you are a zor, a non-kayin. So therefore, when it says if you hold ein issa chalal issa, it means that what? If you be chayiv for what? For being a zor, because that the issa Shabbos can't be chal on that. So that is other example of this. Balmum sheshimesh betuma, a balmum who's meshamesh betuma. Now a balmum can't do the avodah, and a tummy can't do the avodah. Reb Chia omer chayiv shtayim, be chayiv twice. Bar Kapara omer chayiv ela achas. Kovetz Reb Chia v'nishpa ha'avoida lashon of shvua. Kach shemati mi Rebbe shtayim. Kovetz Bar Kapara v'nishpa ha'avoida kach shemati Rebbe achas. Hiskol Reb Chia lo tuma l'chol nesra. Tuma is permitted. What again? Kishal hutra b'migdash, when they mated tuma, I guess this is that tuma hutra b'tzibur the Beis Hamikdash. Eitzel kahanim tamimim hutra. The kahanim tamimim hutra v'loy l'bali mumim. Those who possibly can do the avodah, they mated when most roiv the kahanim were tamei. But the bali mumim can't do the avodah. They were never mata. So the isra tuma was always there. So the bal mum was there and the isra tuma was there. So now you're a bal mum, you can't do it. You're tuma, you can't do it. So therefore you chayiv twice. Yesh kam mishum bali mum, yesh kam mishum tuma. Hiskal bakapar loden tuma l'chol nesra kisha hutra. When they mated it, they didn't matter it to kahanim. But just like Shabbos there's no Shabbos in the Beis Hamikdash, so too b'migdash hutra. There's no tuma in the Beis Hamikdash. Ein kana mishum bal mum. Okay. Final example of this machlokes, guys. In the Beis Hamikdash, there was two birds. You can be an oilus oif v'chatas oif. There was no shchita. There was something called malika. The kohen would hold it in his right hand, take his thumb with a big nail, sever the neck of and go ahead and kill the bird. And they ate that bird by chatas oif. He ate the whole bird. But is considered kosher in the Beis Hamikdash. We call nevela in outside the Beis Hamikdash. It's nevela. They didn't have a shchita, right? So this says the Gemara. Zor sha'achal malika. If a zor would eat a chata sa'oif, he'd eat malika. Rechia oimer chayiv shtayim. You chayiv for being what? You chayiv in the vela. You chayiv for a zor. But Gemara ain't a chayiv al achas. Kafetz Rechia v'nishpa. Avoid kach shematim Rebbe. Shtayim. Kafetz bar kapar v'nishpa. Avoid kach shematim Rebbe achas. Hischel Rebbe Chia loden. The vela lechol nesra. Kisha hutra b'migdash etzel kahanim hutra to eat it. The kahanim hutra v'leila zarim. Yesh kam mishum zaris. Yesh kam mishum malika. Hischel v'akapar loden. The vela lechol nesra. Kisha hutra b'migdash hutra. There's no such thing as nevela in the base of Mikdash. Saying kan elim mishum zarus. And the Ezra Hashem Motzei Shabbos will understand the machlokes between Rebbe and Bakapara, whether what and Issa Chalalissa, the machlokes is in Issa Kailo, and I'll get a better handle on it, Ezra Hashem, and be able to deliver it correctly Motzei Shabbos. So thanks everyone for listening.